Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. And it's Good News Day. We're covering all the good news that we could find in the headlines today. So welcome to Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look at the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start without any caffeine in our bodies. And boy, do I need some caffeine to get through this show, but we're not doing it. Yeah, we're not doing it. So let's go ahead and get into those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, scientists crack a 50-year mystery to discover a new set of blood groups, and how London's Oxford Street could look under Sadiq Khan's new plans.
Good news in the UK and their approach to homelessness and in book loaning.
The government will eliminate the crime of religious offenses, but is still discussing the crime of insulting the king. And in Spain, but hey, in the Netherlands, the Dutch king will be attending Leiden's celebrations of the Spanish siege.
More good news. New carbon fiber batteries could form the actual framework of cars and airplanes, and we're going to have some good news from Music Festival.
In culture good news, Diddy Combs is finally arrested in New York after a federal indictment.
And it's National Voter Registration Day, so if you have not registered or updated your registration, you can get it done today on September 17th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
All right, let's get into our first news story today, which is about blood. Yep, Good News Day is always about something medical being discovered, and this time we have a key missing blood antigen that has been discovered. This is on Wired by Chris Baranuk. We now know why some blood is missing a key antigen, leading to the creation of new blood grouping systems. Experts believe even more discoveries are on the way. If you buy something, by the time Louise Tilly got the blood sample, it had already been puzzling scientists for more than 30 years. In 1972, a pregnant woman had her blood taken, and doctors noticed that her red blood cells seemed to lack surface marker, known as an antigen, that everyone else seemed to have. No one knew why. These antigens are vitally important because they define blood groups. If you have ever received blood that is a mismatch to your own with the wrong antigens, it could kill you. Okay, I got bamboozled.
You did? Why is that?
I could read the article, and then when I reloaded it, it was like, you have to pay to read this. So now I guess that's all the news. I thought there was more, but Wired is telling me I have to give them money. Oh, wait, here. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. See, I load the article. For a split second, I'm allowed to read it, right? And then and then it loads the blocker that's basically saying, you're not allowed to read this anymore. Okay. I've bamboozled it back. Here we go.
Yes, we find this.
I've bamboozled it back.
Let me start. Okay.
There are many challenges in processing and confirming the role of the MAL gene, this mysterious new set of that helps the blood group, including a study by rival researchers that suggested a completely different gene could be responsible. We suddenly thought, oh no, maybe all this work we've been doing has been wasted, recalls Tilly. That was a real low point, Thornton chimes in, but we were convinced we were right. In the end, the other study turned out to be wrong, and one of its authors later joined forces with Tilly, Thornton, and their colleagues. Together, the group was subsequently able to prove the significance of the MAL gene in some key experiments. First, following painstaking efforts to find antibodies that would react with it, they established that the crucial ANWJ antigen encoded by the MAL gene was indeed present on the surface of most people's red blood cells. Then they took the ANWJ negative blood cells, so the ones that don't have it, lacking the said antigen, and inserted a complete MAL gene into those cells. This had the hoped for effect of generating the antigen on the cell surface, turning the cells ANWJ positive. That was definite proof that the researchers had found the gene responsible for this red blood cell variation. So the MAL gene that they discovered is a thing that kind of, gets people's antigen on their blood cell. So when it's lacking the antigen on the blood cell, the MAL gene will react with these lacking blood cells to create the antigen. So if you don't have this MAL gene, the blood cell will be lacking antigen. Now they know the gene in question, and it should make easier to find the ANWJ negative people who could become blood donors, so that if people affected by this blood group ever need a transfusion, they can have one safely. Okay, I understand this article now with my sleepy brain. So you know how you have A and B positive or O negative and that kind of stuff? The idea they're saying here is that they found another blood group, so you can be, I guess, ANWJ positive or AN and WJ negative, and they can use the MAL gene to discover if you're actually those things. So not only can they group you in your hemoglobin and stuff like that, but they can now also group you in if you lack or have this antigen, the ANWJ antigen. So now more ways to test how to give people blood. What they did was really clever, said Sarah Trumpeter, a consultant hematologist and pediatric hematologist at the University College Hospital, London. Trumpeter also works for the NHS Blood and Transplant, but was not involved in the ANWJ study. As it usually is, right? They always ask some person not involved with the study to actually give their opinion on it. They presented it at a conference, some of the early work, and it was like watching one of those detective shows where they just picking up tiny clues and testing hypotheses, things that other people might have ignored. Mark Vickers, a hematologist at the University of Aberdeen, who also was not involved in the study, agrees that the results are robust. They've really gone to town and done some very nice work, he said. As far as this blood group is concerned, this is going to be an unequivocal landmark paper. There are a few indications as to what factors might influence someone to have genes that make their blood ANWJ negative. One family of ANWJ negative individuals in the paper was Arab Israel. Was an Arab Israeli, so it's like somebody who's not from the UK, but they're doing the study in the UK. The authors stress that there's no clear link to ethnicity at this stage. Well, that's because humans work that way. The vast majority of people who are ANWJ negative are not genetically predisposed to it. Rather, they have such blood because of a hematological disorder, or because they have one of the cancers that affect their MAL gene. Okay, so it's not genetic. It's something that happens later in life due to some other disorder. It's not truly negative, it's just suppressed, says Thornton, referring to the case. There are questions remaining though. Babies don't actually develop the ANWJ antigen on their red blood cells until they're 7 days old. So you can't test them until 7 days later. The mechanism as to why that is remains murky. Vickers suggests it could be something to do with the variety of changes that happen in a fetus's blood around the time of birth. For example, when its dependence on nutrition and oxygen from its mother's blood ends. Yeah, they're no longer taking their mom's blood, but they're getting their own. Tilly Thornton and colleagues were also responsible for discovering the genetic basis for the 44th blood group system called ER in 2022, as well as the MAM blood group system in 2020. They're just blood-crazed scientists. During the past decade or so, blood researchers around the world have described roughly one new blood group system every year on average. We've got some more in the pipeline, teases Thornton. There are still a handful of enigmatic blood samples, blood that reacts to other people's bloods in unexpected ways, out there, tucked away in lab storages. Scientists mindful of the patients whose lives are affected by this will struggle to find matching blood donors or who in some cases may suffer devastating complications during pregnancy regularly pore over these samples, hoping to explain them one day. At least one more mystery has been solved. Describing how she feels upon seeing her colleague's paper published at last and reflecting on nearly 20 years of work, Tilly just says, "It's a huge relief." That's right, even with all the scientific deliberations we've gone through, we still haven't really unlocked the magic of what the blood is doing in the body. So we've got another one solved again, and I'm sure plenty more. All the ingredients of how blood works and how it reacts and all our different bloods that are out there. and see how they react. Okay. In a little shorter story, just a little, also coming out of the UK, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, is planning on changing Oxford Street, and it could be a great place for pedestrians in the future. This is by Nora Mikinen on the Metro. The iconic Oxford Street could be transformed into a European-style pedestrian avenue without traffic, new plans have revealed. London, world famous for a shopping street known as for its retailers and Christmas lights, attracting huge crowds, rain or shine. But now the London mayor, Sadiq Khan, has announced plans to stop traffic on the iconic street, which sees around 500,000 visitors each day. If the plan gets green light from the London Assembly, the road could turn into a traffic-free pedestrian avenue inspired by New York's Times Square and Barcelona's Las Ramblas. Yeah, it's about time London had one of these. They kind of have one at, I can't think of it right now, a different square, but it's still a road. There's still cars going through it. Most of the time there aren't cars going through it though, because I think they closed down the road so that people can walk around. But it's still technically a road, and I have seen buses still go through that road. I can't think of what it is. Leicester Square, I think it's there. Still quite popular with traffic. But London, as far as I remember from going there, doesn't actually have an iconic shopping street like Times Square. So the move is part of a bid to give Oxford Street a new lease on life after it has suffered hugely over the last decade, Khan said. This is not the first time the mayor's office has attempted to clear cars off Oxford Street. A previous attempt was blocked by the then Conservative-run Westminster City Council in 2018. Khan said, Oxford Street was once the jewel in the crown of Britain's retail sector, but there's no doubt this has suffered hugely over the last decade. Urgent action is needed to give the nation's most famous high street a new lease of life. I'm excited to be working with the new government and local retailers and businesses on these plans that will help to restore the famous part of the capital to its former glory, while creating new jobs and economic prosperity for the capital and the country. I want Oxford Street to once again become the leading retail destination in the world. There's a picture here of the beautiful Christmas lights on Oxford Street, and also thousands of cars and traffic and buses. Yeah, there's crowds and crowds of people just walking through the cars that are parked on the street because they're not moving, they're not going anywhere. So they might as well just get rid of the cars and traffic in general there and make some sort of byway. He said the transformation project will be a leading example of the City Hall and the new government working together to build a better London for everyone. The proposal has attracted support from the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who said the area needs a boost along with John Lewis bosses. John Lewis, of course, is a famous store. I can't think of the type of store it is.
Congressman.
Yeah,
Civil rights leader.
Yeah.
John Lewis.
Rayner said, Oxford Street is a well-renowned shopping destination. We want it to stay that way. By working with the mayor and local leaders, we can ensure it gets the boost it needs. This plan to revitalize Oxford Street will drive growth by creating new jobs, generating economic activity, and giving a much-needed boost to London's nighttime economy. Peter Rouse, the executive director of John Lewis, said the retailer was delighted to see the plans announced today to transform the nation's high street and look forward to welcoming even more visitors to London's West End. It comes more than 4 months after Khan won the mayoral election for a second term. Oxford Street has often been named as one of the world's worst roads for pollution in the UK. Wow, at least you're winning something, right? In 2014, researchers found that the nitrogen dioxide levels were more than 11 times higher than the EU safe limit of 40 milligrams. 3. Other London mayors across the political divide have also considered measures to change the face of Oxford Street, including former Mayor Boris Johnson. Then Mayor Johnson told businesses in 2016 he was open to considering banning buses and cars on parts of the street, but ruled out a full pedestrianization, the Evening Standard reported. All candidates in the 2016 mayoral election backed the idea of pedestrianizing it, but the late plans are subject to statutory consultation and approval by the London Assembly. Khan also needs to obtain permission from Rayner in her role as the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities, and Local Government. So hopefully it'll get passed. London is like majority Labour right now, so Not a lot of conservatives to say, no, we should keep polluting Oxford Street for no reason because we're conservatives and we don't like change. I don't know why anyone's against this, but hopefully it gets through, and then you guys, and I guess I can, and everyone out there can visit a pedestrianized Oxford Street with its beautiful Christmas lights. That's my stories. On to yours.
Okay, more UK news. This is from positive.news. No editor name. There's a bigger story on it.
Big story.
They compacted it into a nice compact little bird for us because it's a 10 to 12 minute story. So here we go. In the story itself, I'm not exactly sure. Daisy Greenwell is the name of the story. Finnish approach to homelessness has success in UK. A remarkably simple approach to homelessness has housed more than 400 rough sleepers in Manchester, England, while saving the state money. That's according to the city's mayor, Andy Burnham, who this week applied for more government funding to continue the Housing First scheme. Developed in Finland, the approach provides homes to people without preconditions, then offers wraparound support tailored to their needs. It stands in contrast to the other models that expect people to be sober, engaging with support already, and seeking employment. According to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, 413 people have been housed under the £8 million pilot, which began in 2019. Of those, 75% sustain their tenancies. Finding homes for all the people that need them, however, is a challenge in a country with an acute shortage of housing like the UK. One woman who was helped by the scheme told the BBC that it had given me my life back. Burnham said that the scheme showed that if you set people up to succeed, they largely do. Manchester is not the only city trailing the Housing First approach. Houston in the U.S. has also piloted the model, moving a reported 25,000 people from tents and benches into secure housing between 2012 and 2022. But we want to re-up that Houston story. 25,000 sounds pretty impressive. Okay, so there's your story on good news in housing in the UK. Another good news story from the UK is about a bookstore. This is from positive.news, also from Fern McArlin. Readers, authors, and independent booksellers are set to benefit from a secondhand buyback book scheme billed as sustainable alternative to Amazon. A buyback scheme for used books has launched, via which readers can trade their unwanted copies for online credit or more pre-loved novels. I call them pre-loved novels. There you go. Book Loop is being pitched as a sustainable alternative to Amazon, which Book Loop organizers say can be pricey for both buyers and sellers. It comes from bookshop.org, an online platform for indie booksellers that first launched in 2020 and has since raised £3 million for UK independent literary stores. Customers can scan and upload their books to the online valuation system, then drop them off at a DPD collection point or have them picked up from their own home in exchange for a site credit to be used on new bookshop stocked titles. Solutions every Sunday uplift in your inbox. That's a stinking ad for this thing. Okay, next line. Book Loop is being run in partnership with existing buyback book platform Zirkle, which already operates across France, the UK, Germany, Austria, and Sweden, and processes more than 10,000 books per day. Through Book Loop, Zirkle, Z-E-E-R-C-L-E, Zirkle, sells customers trade-in titles through online marketplaces that explicitly exclude Amazon-owned and operated websites. Readers must sell at least £5 worth of books to take part. Eric Gignari, a co-founder and CEO of Zirkle, said, by giving books a second life, we are not only reducing waste, but also fostering a community of readers who value sustainability and support independent bookshops. This initiative is a win-win for both the environment and the local economy. One independent UK bookseller that's joined the scheme is Bookbag, based in Exeter. Founded by Charlie and Malcolm Richardson in December 2020, described it as a social space that stocks a global range of fiction and nonfiction writing. We are glad to see bookshop.org set up this scheme, which feels well thought through and a great way of repurposing books and helping sustain bookshops and new book purchases, Charlie told Positive.News. At Bookbag, we are mindful of the book life cycle and like to see books being widely shared and reread. We encourage our customers locally to donate their pre-read books for our secondhand bookshelf, and we use these funds to support our event program, including our open mic poetry night, she added. Though Bookshop will continue to only sell exclusively new books, Nicole Vanderbilt, its managing director, said this will still bring in benefit to independent booksellers, boosting sales that will help them gain extra commissions while ensuring the secondhand books don't end up on Amazon. Authors are also set to benefit from the scheme. And as an agreement with the Society of Authors and ALCS means royalties accumulated from these secondhand book sales will be distributed via a shared author fund. So they're not screwing the authors. So that's good news.
Yeah, that's great.
Reception to the news of the launch hasn't been universally positive, however. Some secondhand booksellers have raised concerns about how many books will actually be sold on to readers through Book Loop. Patrick Kelly, owner of Bookmongers in Brixton. I like Bookmongers, great name for us, bookstore. Patrick Kelly, owner of Bookmongers in Brixton, told The Guardian that most secondhand books should be recycled. They are either no longer relevant, overly produced, or left in bad condition, he said. In response, Bookshop.org said that only 2% of the books sold to Zerzel end up not being resold. Most of the excess books are donated to local charities with less than 0.5% recycled, they said. Some of them are just going to turn into pulp because they've been overread or they're not really very good books, maybe. Huh? Another independent bookshop co-founder, Amber Harrison of Foldy in Dorset, who welcomed the launch of Book Loop, made the point that independent bookshops have led the way in retail when it comes to sustainability, from being more environmentally responsible to reducing waste. Closing the loop on getting pre-owned books to new readers while benefiting both bookshops and authors feels extremely positive, she said. It is really a sustainable way of getting books into the hands of more people without cost being buried. There's your good news from England on books and homelessness. Back to you.
I mean, it sounds like a great idea.
Awkward segue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. Just because there's plenty. It's basically a library, realistically. That's what you do at libraries. You donate your books to the library. Like, oh, I don't read these anymore. You know, I haven't touched these books. There's a lot of book lovers out there who need to go to a library and donate their books.
Some towns have a book exchange, like small towns. They have like a little kiosk, little thing. You throw books in, and then you can borrow a book from it at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, here in my village, we have people have little book loaner shelves with little glass. Yeah, I think you saw them when you were here. So you just put some books, and then somebody can come and, you know, they can put their books in there or take your book or whatever. Book trade.
It's very common.
But now they monetized it, so you get paid for doing it.
Now they can reward the authors.
People are going to go to libraries and start stealing books so they can sell them.
Stealing books.
No, I'm just being negative. I'm sure people are going to do that. Okay.
This is product of the Manchester Library.
Exactly.
Or property of the Manchester Library.
Well,
They'll be stealing books from the library.
Yeah,
Okay.
Don't do that. I have no good way, so speaking of stealing stuff, the Spanish did that a lot. Yeah! Anyways, this is from El País by Carlos E. Gue and Jose Hermada. The government is now eliminating in Spain the crime of religious offenses, but you still get the crime of insulting the king. The package for the democratic regeneration that the Council of Ministers will study today on the 17th of September is broad and contains many delicate issues that have been discussed internally in the coalition and with the main partners for weeks, but the plan was not yet fully finalized until the 16th of September, just hours before the final decision. Pedro Sanchez confirmed the socialist deputies, as El País had anticipated that the government would finally approve on today, the 17th of September. But the discussion between the partners and the executives was still open about the reform of the coalition. Of several laws affecting the fundamental rights, there is an underlying debate between PSOE and SUMAR, which are two different parties, which as of late the 16th September, which was Monday, had not been resolved, regarding the elimination of some controversial crimes that limit freedom of expression, such as offenses to religious feelings or insults to the crown and the high institutions of the state. The current wording of the Spanish Penal Code, very unusual in Europe, has allowed the imprisonment of well-known rappers or very harsh legal proceedings against satirical publications that have not existed in other countries and have led to sentences against Spain by the European Court of Human Rights for limiting freedom of expression. Both the PSOE and SUMAR agreed to change this part of the Penal Code, that they dispute the scope, which blocked the plan according to the sources in negotiation. Those in charge of closing it were the socialist Felix Bolaños, Minister of Justice and Presidency, and Ernest Urtasun of Culture for SUMAR. The PSOE is willing to eliminate the crime against religious feelings, which has led Christian groups to pursue all kinds of satire related to Catholic religion. You insulted Catholicism? Somebody get the Spanish police! They're breaking the penal code. But it has more doubts, about those who insult the crown or high institutions of the state. So basically the government is agreeing that they should probably get rid of the religious feelings in the penal code and not penalize people for that. But they have no idea how they're going to get rid of insulting the crown or insulting the state. Maybe because as people sitting in a government themselves, they don't want to be insulted. So they don't want to be criticized. I'm in power, don't criticize me. My feelings will get hurt. So they're not sure if they want to get rid of that, I guess. Which not only includes the government, but also the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Court, and the General Council of the Judiciary. SUMAR insists that the commitment to repeal these crimes must be expressly mentioned in the plan that comes out of the Council of Ministers, but the socialists were in favor of a more generic wording to develop the details in the future. What is certain is that the PSOE will reject SUMAR's claim to suppress the criminal figure of glorifying terrorism. Yeah, okay. Just because you criticize the government doesn't mean you want to bomb the government. Calm down. Okay. The PSOE has already agreed on 2 occasions to consider in Congress the proposals, previously from the Unidas Podemos and now from SUMAR, to suppress those crimes of opinion. But until now, they have let them languish. After the blockage suffered in the previous legislature, the minority partner of the government returned to charge in this one with one of its first parliamentary proposals of the current mandate. The proposal is to reform the penal code in the sense was taken into consideration on December 19th, 2023 by the plenary session of Congress with the support of the entire investiture bloc, including the socialists. Since then, as had happened previously, it remained blocked in the table. So they tried to get this passed, something like this passed in 2023, but they just can't get past. They're a minority, they don't have a majority to actually push this along, and I guess they just keep on, for now, I think they actually have more of a majority to push it along if PSOE can agree on doing it. SUMAR agrees that these crimes are anomalous within European legislation and that they have given rise to sentences against musicians and Twitter users. For this, the party, the king, and the main institutions of the state have had the same mechanisms as any citizen to defend themselves against insulting attacks, without the need to provide them with individual protection with a specific criminal figure. Same is argued for the case of glorification of terrorism, which, in SUMAR's opinion, would already be covered by the general crime of apology for violence. PSOE and SUMAR have also been arguing to the last minute about the central axis of the package that Sanchez announced after he decided to stop his activity for 5 days, consider the possibility of leaving politics when a judge initiated proceedings against his wife that law Moncloa considered unfounded. Okay, so because of this penal code, Sanchez's wife, who is not in the government, was kind of put in the crosshairs in order to put pressure on him, who is in the government, And I guess that's why he wants to pass this law that stops people's freedoms from being used against them, so they can speak and criticize things without being used as collateral in some sort of political maneuvering, I guess. The heart of the law consists of transposition of European law on media and freedom, and that the PP supported in Brussels. For this reason, Sanchez insists that the opposition should support his initiative in Congress, although the PP rejects it outright and accuses the government of trying to control the media. The purpose of the European law is to safeguard the media to prevent them from being used for political purposes. The Council of Ministers will approve regulations to require all media to disclose their ownership structure, and will amend the law on institutional advertising to make it more transparent and prevent some governments, especially regional or local ones, from financing very small media that have very few readers and obtain their main income from public funds. Oh no, not government contracts with media. That's not good. The president also announced the media that spreads hoaxes will not receive public money. This part seems very complex to put into law. Yeah, you have to define what a hoax is. What is a hoax? And how do you say you're not allowed to get public money because you did a hoax? On this point of disinformation, there's also dispute between the PSOE and Sumar. Yolanda Diaz's groups insist on establishing an independent audiovisual council for the whole of Spain, similar to those already operating in Catalonia and Andalusia, to be used by professionals themselves to denounce bad journalistic practices. A self-mandated regulation. This is something common in the EU, and the European law on media and freedom itself points to such as a solution. Other groups that support the government, such as ERC, have also proposed it. But in Spain, this issue is very controversial, and in some sectors, especially conservative ones, they describe it as a new form of censorship. The socialists prefer a less controversial formula. PSOE and Sumar have also debated internally about the possibility of including the package the complete reform of the controversial gag law, which was approved by Mariano Rajoy's government in 2015. The socialists had already explained that they are only committed to including parts that have to do with freedom of expression, such as the prohibition of taking pictures of police officers during demonstrations, but they're avoiding more delicate commitments such as prohibition of rubber bullets or the immediate return of migrants, two issues that meant that ERC and EH Bildu do not support the reform in 2023, and it fell through. So, partially good news, mostly good news that Spain is looking at increasing the freedom of its citizens, eliminating crimes of saying Catholics suck, and then getting sued by, I don't know, your local church because you said that. But they're still discussing ways in which to make those freedoms not only more reliable, but not in a way that you're actually removing freedoms, right? Because as the media is saying, oh, you're causing us to be censored. Media always says that kind of stuff. Oh, we're not allowed to tell people lies. You're censoring us. You know, we're not allowed to sensationalize disinformation. We're being censored. But also, saying, how do you protect the king / the government from insults while also giving people permission to criticize them is a really fine line I think the Spanish are still working on, trying to figure out. In a very small update news, in the Netherlands, if you would like to see the king in public, the king of the Netherlands, William Alexander, he will be attending the Leiden's Onzet celebrations. It is the 450th anniversary, so that's a big milestone. It's not 500, but it's close. Almost there. Of Leiden's lifting of the Spanish siege. So they were sieged by Spain for a long time, and they finally got out of it 450 years ago. Well, in October. It's on October 3rd. So if you would like to see a king that lets you criticize him in a country that lets you have those freedoms, check that out on October 3rd in Leiden. It will be a busy day for him. There's a busy schedule where I'm sure he'll be doing all sorts of things like a parade and riding the Ferris wheel and probably
making grilled cheese sandwiches for everybody.
Giving a speech about defeating the Spanish or something. Yeah, Leiden.
Kissing babies. Kissing babies.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Like a politician would. Yeah.
That's my story.
Hey. On to more good news. Good News Day, after all. Let's keep her moving. This is from the Good News Network. And it says new carbon fiber batteries could form actual framework of cars and airplanes. Wow, that's amazing. Cars and planes could soon be built from the world's strongest batteries, thanks to the groundbreaking innovation of the Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. Researchers detailed in the advance of so-called massless energy storage, a structural battery that could cut the weight of a laptop by 50%, make mobile phones as thin as a credit card, or increase the driving range of an EV by up to 70% on a single charge. Structural batteries are materials that, in addition to storing energy, can carry loads. Stiff, strong carbon fibers could store electrical energies chemically, and in this way, the battery material can become part of the actual construction material of the product. And when cars, planes, ships, and computers are built from material that functions as both a battery and a load-bearing structure, the weight and energy consumptions are radically reduced. We have succeeded in creating a battery made of carbon fiber composite that is as stiff as aluminum and energy dense enough to be used commercially, says Charmels Research. Richa Chaudhary, the first author of a paper recently published in Advanced Materials. Just like a human skeleton, a battery has several functions at the same time. When it comes to vehicles that are high demands on design to be sufficiently strong to meet safety requirements. When it comes to vehicles, there are high demands on design to be sufficiently strong to meet safety requirements. There, the research team's structural battery cell has significantly increased its stiffness, or more specifically, the elastic modulus, which is measured in gigapascal, from 25 to 70.
Wow.
Gigapascal. That's, I guess, the base unit is a pascal, which measures, elasticity. This means that the material can carry loads just as well as aluminum, but with lower weight. In terms of multifunctional properties, the new battery is twice as good as its predecessor, and actually the best ever made in the world, said research leader Leif Ask, professor of the Department of Industrial and Material Sciences at Chalmers. Investing in light, energy-efficient vehicles is a matter of course. If we are to economize on energy and think about future generations, we have made calculations on electric cars that show that they could drive up for 70% longer than today if they had competitive structural batteries. The team said the goal is always to achieve performance that makes it possible to commercialize this technology. The link to the market has been forged through the newly created Chalmers venture company called Sinonus, and they've received a great deal of interest from the automotive and aerospace industry. However, there's still a lot of engineering work to be done before the battery cells have taken the step manufacturing on a small scale to be produced on a large scale for our vehicles. It requires large investment to meet the transport industry's challenging energy needs, but this is also where the technology can make the most difference. Great news from the energy sector. And on to the concert sector, as you want to call it. This is also from Good News Network. Andy Corbally put his name on this one. It's about a couple of music festivals. When a three-day music festival is called off and the organizers declined to offer a refund to pass holders, a totally different festival decided to welcome them all for free. Now in its 12th year, the Lucidity Festivals was set to kick off in Santa Barbara, California this September, but citing unforeseen last-minute changes in requirements imposed by Santa Barbara County, the festival had to be canceled. It sounds like a bunch of spoil sports. What do you want to call it? Negative Nancy's. To make matters worse, this circumstance led to a postponement that we cannot officially recover from. So the organizers announced there would be no refunds for the passes. So they're just taking their money, not giving it back. To be fair, Lucidity's festival's official policies is that passes can only be transferred from one holder to another, but refunds are never offered. While hundreds of derelict pass holders are incensed in considering a class action lawsuit, Lucidity has warned that if they can't find a solution for a place to host the event by April next year, they will declare bankruptcy and end the festival for good. The end of the saga, no one can yet predict, but a totally unaffiliated festival called Same But Different heard that this was happening, decided to welcome all Lucidity pass holders for free of charge as a gesture of goodwill. We know how challenging these times can be, especially when the festival experience we all cherish Stone Coast Plan, reads a statement released by the SSBD. It's never easy when something you've been looking forward to doesn't work out. Something you've been looking forward to doesn't work out. And we understand how much time, energy, and anticipation went into planning Fidity. Featuring a big lineup of electric music artists like likes of Big Gigantic, Ganja White Knight, and LSD Dream, SSBD is making it known that they are well positioned to welcome thousands of Lucidity ticket holders from September 27th to 29th. Writes EDM.com. The Enchanting Festival will also feature sunrise to sunset DJ sets, a Vegas-inspired casino pop-up experience, yoga sessions, mindfulness workshops, and much more. So get your festival on in Santa Barbara. Sorry that your Lucidity thing was killed by the city, but just go have fun at the music. There's your good news. Back to you.
Yeah, 2 places you can go have fun at. I've got it. I've already put it in.
So,
all good.
Alrighty. Pretty simple.
Okay. For more culture news, let's look at Sean Diddy Combs finally getting caught in New York. He went on the run, I think, like 3 months ago or something. You know, tricked the feds into catching him, but he's finally been expedited, I guess, or he returned to New York and got indicted by the federal government. And the hip-hop mogul is now facing multiple allegations by women accusing him of sexual assault. Why is this good news? Well, because I am a Tupac, Notorious B.I.G. conspiracy theorist, and I believe he had both of them murdered. So he's finally gotten justice in my eyes.
Oh boy.
I watched like a conspiracy video about it. I was like, you know what? That's a pretty convincing argument that P. Diddy is the one who did it. You know, he's the one who, maybe not with his own hands, but he's the one who, in a way, the gang boss who gave the order to shoot him in the street. So, and Tupac was a great guy. He did not deserve to die in some, back alley somewhere getting shot up or whatever. Totally awful thing to do. But anyways, Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul who has faced a stream of allegations by women accusing him of sexual assault, was arrested yesterday on the 16th of September in New York after he was indicted by a federal grand jury. Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, said in a statement posted on social media late Monday that we expect to move to unsealed indictment in the morning and we'll have more to say at that time. Details of the charges weren't immediately announced by prosecutors, but Combs' lawyer Mark Angifilo issued a statement saying, "We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office." He added that Combs had gone to New York last week in anticipation of the charges being brought. He is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. Combs was arrested in Park Hyatt, New York, on the 57th Street, New York, at about 8:30 p.m. on Monday. He was to be held overnight and arraigned in court today, on Tuesday morning. Federal investigation into Combs was revealed when Homeland Security investigations agents served simultaneous search warrants and raided Combs' mansions in Los Angeles and Miami on the 25th of March. The day after the raids, his defense attorney Aaron Dyer called them a gross use of military-level force and said the allegations were meritless, that Combs was innocent and will continue to fight to clear his name. I'm sorry, but there's at least one video footage of him beating a woman at an elevator, so maybe he can be cleared of most charges, but that one is pretty concrete, unless it's freaking AI video, which I don't think AI video existed back then when that video was posted. So, that's a guy who looks like Combs in the same hotel on the same floor, coming from the same room, but it wasn't him. It was somebody else. Since then, Kerr has been plagued with sexual assault lawsuits and a federal investigation. Combs was once one of the most successful rappers in the U.S., with a string of hit tracks including U.S. number one singles Can't Nobody Hold Me Down, I'll Be Missing You, and Shake It There. His label Bad Boy Records was home to popular artists including Notorious B.I.G. and Mace. He had a success with other business ventures such as clothing brand Sean John and vodka brand Ciroc. But his reputation has been damaged since the allegations, which he has denied. Yeah, there's like rarely a person out there who's gonna be like, yes, I'm a sexual assaulter. You have to go to therapy before you can admit that to yourself that you've done that. In recent weeks, New York Mayor Eric Adams has demanded Combs return ceremonial key to the city he was awarded in September 2023, while Howard University rescinded Combs' honorary degree, discontinued a scholarship program in his name, and returned a $1 million donation. Wow, they gave him the key to the city in 2023? I'm pretty sure he had already alleged assaulting Cassie, his former protege girlfriend. Yeah, but way before 2023, but maybe that was more recent. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. According to here, I thought that was long ago. Man, I'm in a time vortex right now. I thought that happened like years ago. No, but according to this article, last November, his former protege and girlfriend, the R&B singer Cassie, became the first of several people to sue him for sexual abuse. In November's lawsuit, Cassie alleged years of abuse. Oh, that's what it is. The video is probably from years ago. But they didn't really bring that video into light until recently. So, the alleged abuse is, of course, including beatings and rape. Her suit also alleged Combs engaged in sex trafficking by requiring her to engage in forced sexual acts in multiple jurisdictions like he's her fucking pimp. By engaging in harboring and transportation of the plaintiff by purposes of sex induced by force, fraud, and coercion. He also said he compelled her to help him traffic male sex workers Combs would force Cassie to have sex with while he filmed. Okay, the suit was settled the following day, but its reverberations would last far longer. 3 more women quickly came forward with claims against Combs, including sex trafficking and gang rape. In December, Combs posted on social media, "Enough is enough," in caps. "Stinking accusations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I do not do any of those awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth," he added. In May, CNN aired a leaked video of him punching Cassie, kicked her, and throwing her to the floor in a hotel hallway. Now, of course, innocent until proven guilty doesn't mean he's guilty of all of the sexual assault just because you have one video of him beating up Cassie in a hallway. But he is at least guilty of that in my eyes. He did it. It's right there. So, can't really... Combs posted a video apologizing, which means he's said I was disgusted when I did it. Most people who do domestic abuse are disgusted with themselves when they do it because they know it's wrong, but you still did it, and I'm disgusted now. Cassie's lawsuit was followed by at least a half dozen others in the ensuing months. In June of this year, the prestigious Howard University said had cut ties with Combs and revoked all honors and privileges associated with an honorary degree they had awarded him. Combs returned the ceremonial key to the city of New York after a request by the mayor, Eric Adams. In February of this year, a music producer filed a lawsuit against Combs, alleging he coerced him to solicit prostitutes and put pressure on him to have sex with them. Another of Combs' accusers was a woman who said the rap producer raped her 2 decades ago when she was 17. Combs and his attorney denied the allegations. While authorities did not publicly say the lawsuit set off the criminal investigation, Dyer said when the warrants were served, the case was based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. Last week, a man who accused Combs of sexual assaulting him won a $100 million judgment after the music producer failed to contest the allegations in a civil courthouse in Michigan. An attorney for Combs issued a statement denying his client knew the plaintiff, Derek Lee Cardillo Smith. The lawyer, Mark Angifilo, said Cardillo Smith had committed fraud on the court and that Combs looks forward to having this judgment swiftly dismissed. But there you go. There's more news on that whole case and how he has officially been detained by a federal by the police and is currently on trial by a federal grand jury, which I'm sure will get to the bottom of everything that's going on with him. And maybe they found something in the 2 houses that they seized and looked in. I have no idea because I'm not involved in the case. And I think it would be illegal for me to divulge any information about the case until it's ready to go to court. So anyways, that's your news, culture news. Good news for me, at least. Finally, justice for Tupac and Biggie. And
well, it's just an indictment.
It's
just
an
not
indictment,
justice,
I know.
it's an indictment.
Like I said,
and we don't even know what for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't even say what
they're
for.
They're opening it
right?
today, so they might have their
mystery.
It's only 6 a.m. on the East Coast or 7 a.m. on the East Coast, so they're opening it as we speak. Probably there's probably a news dropping right now The indictment!
It's 8:30.
Or it's going to be at 8 a.m., but unfortunately we will be offline by the time we get that news, so I guess we'll tell you tomorrow any updates we get on that.
Well, I guess we'll know when the trial starts.
Yeah.
Guess we'll know when the evidence is presented.
Yeah.
It's probably something to do with all the crap you just described.
Exactly.
Anyway. This day in history?
Yep, this in history.
1374. On September 17th, 1374, the Polish nobility and their king Louis I signed the Pact of Kazis. In 1549, Pope Paul III suspended the Council of Trent, and Charles V forbade the Spanish and German prelates to go to Bologna. There you go. Not a whole lot of detail on these stories. And in 1631, on this date, the Swedish Saxony army under King Gustav II Adolf of Sweden destroyed the army of Roman Catholic Habsburg Emperor Ferdinand II and the Catholic League under John Serkals Claes Graf, Count von Tilly, and in the Battle of Breitenfeld. All right, that was a mouthful. All that happened in Breitenfeld in this day. In 1787, the U.S. Constitution was signed by 39 delegates to the Constitutional Convention. So the Constitution was signed, the U.S. Constitution, the first constitutional government in the history of the world, signed 1787. 1849, American Harriet Tubman escaped from the southern plantation where she was enslaved and later led other enslaved people to freedom in the north along the route of the Underground Railroad. It says the southern plantation, but it was actually Maryland. Harriet Tubman escaped from Maryland, not the south. Sorry, he was raised in Maryland over in the Eastern Shore as a slave, escaped in 1849 on this day. 1861, the forces of Buenos Aires province, commanded by Governor Bartolome Mitre, defeated those of Argentine Confederation led by Justo Jose de Urquiza at the Battle of Pavon. Moving right along in history, in 1860, the Civil War in the United States, Union forces halted the Confederate advance on Maryland during the Battle of Antietam. The battle resulted in more than 26,000 casualties, one of the bloodiest days in the American Civil War. Yeah, lots of people died in Maryland during the Civil War. 1901, a British adventurer Sir Francis Chichester, who sailed around the world alone in 1966 to 1967 in a 55-foot yacht, Gypsy Moth IV, was born. So it was his birthday. And when he was 65, he sailed around the world. So you can do stuff when you're 65.
Yeah, crazy.
Like sail around the world. That's crazy. 1926, Mexican artist Frida Kahlo was severely injured in a bus accident, and during her recovery, she began painting and soon abandoned her plans for a career in medicine. So without the bus accident, you would have never heard of Frida. 1939, during World War II, the Soviet Army invaded Poland from the east, joining Germany, which had launched its attack several weeks earlier, and the Polish government fled to Romania. So Germany and Russia basically ganging up Poland like a couple of bullies and squeezing them from both sides. In 1848, Grieve Count Folk Bernadotte was assassinated by Jewish extremists while serving the United Nations as mediator between the Arabs and Israelis. I gotta fly in my face. Go fly. In 1972, on this date, the American TV series Mesh was based on the Robert Altman film, 1970, debuted in CBS, and the show was hugely popular with both critics and viewers. And lasted three times as long as the Korean War, which it was based on. Speaking of the Korean War, in 1991, North Korea and South Korea were admitted to the United Nations. Wow, it took until 1991. 2011, the first Occupy Wall Street protest was held in the United States as some 1,000 demonstrators marched on Manhattan before occupying Zuccotti Park, the building which eventually went global, sought to highlight corporate greed and income equality, among other issues. And of course, accomplished not a goddamn thing, because we just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Thank you, Occupy Wall Street, though, for bringing it to our attention that rich people are just got too much damn money. And they got all the money and they're making it look like it's supposed to be fair, and it's not.
Nope.
Our feature event, 1978. The Camp David Accords were concluded. The Camp David Accords were negotiated by U.S. President Jimmy Carter, were completed on this day in 1978, leading to a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel, and a broader framework for pursuing peace in the Middle East. Peace in the Middle East, what a concept. Anyway, a feature biography, Wenceslas II, King of Bohemia and Poland. Yeah, the guy from the song, Good King Wenceslas, I guess, right? It's his birthday, September 17th, 1271, sorry, 1271, so, jeez, like 750 years ago he was born. Died on June 21st, 1305, age 33. Good King Wenceslas only got to be 33. Birthdays today. Other birthdays today, it is Hank Williams' birthday. The original Hank Williams Jr., that racist, hillbilly moron son of his, who has limited talent. But Hank Williams Sr. wrote all the songs that basically founded country music. The American singer, songwriter, and musician is regarded the most important country music artist of all time. Williams recorded 35 singles that would place top 10 of the Billboard Country Western Sellers chart, including 11 that ranked number 1. During his lectures, Williams' consumption of alcohol, morphine, and painkillers severely compromised his professional life. Williams died at the age of 29 on January 1st, 1953. 29.
Damn.
You can die of alcoholism at 29.
Must have had a rough life.
Yeah, he had terrible back pain.
Yeah.
He had really bad back pains, and so he took a lot of morphine for that. Of course, morphine is a great drug, but it's going to get you hooked, buddy. So, anyway, other birthdays today. Ken Kesey, American author, he wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was born in 1935. Reinhold Messner, of course, Ken Kesey also wrote on the effects of LSD. In 1944, I think he was given LSD by the Army, by the way. The Army gave him LSD, an experimental drug that was a truth serum. 1944, Reinhold Messner, Italian explorer, born in 1944. 1955, Phil Jackson, American basketball player and coach. 1950, the birthday of Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India. Never know how to say his first name. And Alex Ovechkin, Russian hockey player, born in 1985. Happy birthday to him. And what day is it today? It is it's Constitution Day and Citizenship Day. As we covered, the Constitution was signed on this day in 1787. It's also National Apple Dumpling Day. Apple dumpling. National Voter Registration Day. We got an election up and a lot of early voting starting within a week. That's right. People can start voting within a week for president and a lot of other offices today. This month, I should say, but it's National Voter Registration Day. Check that registration. National Professional Cleaners Day. Get right down to it. I need a house cleaner. National Monte Cristo Day. Monte Cristo appears to be a grilled ham and cheese sandwich. With powdered sugar sprinkled on it.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna make that right now.
They call it Monte Cristo. And it's National IT Professionals Day. So all of those days today, September 17th, 2024, and before Monte Cristo, or before apple dumpling.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a bit hard to make one of those.
That's all we got for today.
It has mustard in it as well. There's a lot of things in it. Okay. But it's mostly just sandwich, right. Yeah. Well, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands. I guess I'm going to go make a Monte Cristo for my lunch. I hope you guys are having a good Tuesday. And if your Tuesday just started, this is us giving you permission to go out there, think of the positive things, look at the good stuff that's going on around you, because it's not all that bad. Tomorrow, you can look at all the weird stuff that's going on in our world and how our world is not so boring and it's exciting and there's people doing crazy stuff all over the place. So, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can find when we go live for our Wacky and Weird Wednesday episode tomorrow. And of course, like this video if you enjoyed learning about all the good things that are going on this week. I hope you have a good one. Stay safe out there. Keep your temperature regulated. And let's go to our mic drop moment.
There's not a lot of... See,
Hey, honey, I got
1953, so...
Yeah. For you, I want to sing for just for you.
What is it?
It's called Hey Good Looking.
Oh.
It was June Carter. Might have been.
This is a famous song or a well-known song, right? Maybe I'm old, but...
What you got cooking?
That,
It's like maybe I'm just old, but I thought this was a well-known song.
Well, he died January 1st, 1953. TV was very much in its infancy, so there's not a lot of Hank Williams video out there. TV show video. His last concert video.
I've got a crystal.
I tried to find Jambalaya. Trying to find a copy of Jambalaya, but there's no video of him singing it.
Well, the Monte Cristo comes from South Carolina.
Yeah. Okay.
So he could have been eating one. He's a country singer, you know?
Take William. The one and only.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.